Have we finally figured out who the murderer is in Stargirl Season 3? Well, we kinda did by the end of the episode, but I also don't think it's exactly how it seems to be. If you haven't seen episode 4 of Stargirl Season 3 yet, save this video for later and come back because we're going to talk about spoilers and we're going to be breaking down the episode. Now, before we get to the end of the episode, we got to talk about what happens through the episode, of course. This episode is yet another good episode. I really enjoyed it. I'm loving this show. Everything about it is just, it's shot nice, the acting is good, it's written well. It's not like some of the other CW shows, and on top of it, it seems like we're going to be getting a crossover with Titans, which is going to be pretty cool, and I'm curious to how that's going to happen. And if it's only going to be Courtney crosses over, or if it's going to be someone else. Also, Beast Boy looks like he has a new suit in Titans as well. Finally. Let's talk about Stargirl. And the first person I want to talk about is Cameron and his icicle powers, because he's getting a little bit evil. I don't think he's going to want to be evil. I think that the ice is going to corrupt him over time, and I think that's why he's going to be evil, and especially because I think he's going to realize that Courtney's been lying to him, and he's going to turn and feel betrayed. Which, it could end up being him being betrayed and then turning back and going back to working with the JSA after Courtney helps him and they come to a realization. But I think at first he's going to think that he's being betrayed and turn against them because of, well, all the lying that's been going on, especially when he finds out what happened to his father. In this episode, it starts off with him in his house, and he freezes the snow globe with, like, Courtney in it, and he just drops it because he can't control his icicle powers. And later in the episode, his evil grandparents come in and take his art supplies away and give him hot tea. I was thinking that the tea was some kind of, like, manipulative tool that it warmed up his body so he can have better control of his powers, but for me, I think that's like, there's something in it to kind of make the icicle powers take over more, so he's becoming more under the influence about what he does. And when they take away his art, I'm pretty sure that's just them trying to push their own agenda on him so that he will follow in his father's footsteps, and he kind of leaves the art stuff behind. And later in the episode, Courtney ends up going to talk to him, and he loses control of his powers. And she's not even freaked out by it. He's not even, she's not even fazed by it because, well, she's Stargirl, but he doesn't know that. And I'm surprised he didn't find it at all suspicious that Courtney was standing there like, oh, yeah, this isn't a big deal. This is okay. Like, come on. You have this guy just blow up with icicle powers, and you're telling me you're not scared? You gotta put off a little bit of face so you don't give away your secret identity, Courtney. Come on. But she's just a kid, and she almost did tell him about the JSA. But because his grandparents have been telling him that he's supposed to follow in his father's footsteps, help people, and do all this stuff that, his father was doing, because his father was trying to help everyone, which he really wasn't. Well, he's evil. He was pretty evil. And I like how when he was telling Courtney about this, Courtney's just standing there like literally, Courtney looked terrified because she knew what his father's plans were, but he didn't, obviously, so he has no idea what's going on, but she does. But of course, when he finds out about what's going on, he's not going to believe Courtney, he's going to believe his family. On top of it, I was wrong. His grandparents did tell him about his father's death, but didn't tell him about how he was killed. He just knows that he was killed by someone, and of course Courtney knows exactly who killed him. It was Mike and them, because Mike hit him with a car. It's going to be an interesting episode when he does find out, because he's going to 100% blame Courtney. He's going to go after the JSA, and he's going to feel betrayed because his friends killed his father. Even though realistically, I still find it funny that Icicle died that way. I don't think he should have, but it's going to turn real bad for the JSA when Cameron finds out, because he can already not control his icicle powers, and I think that'll be the tipping point of him turning into a villain. I like how Courtney is helping him with his powers, saying that he should express himself like he does with his art, rather than bottling it all in and trying to hide. Which is good, because it's giving him, it's making him and Courtney's bond go closer, and they end up kissing because of it. They're kind of becoming more in a relationship, but I also know that it's going to end up horribly, because once he finds out, he's going to snap. And it's going to be a sad story. It's going to be a real sad story. I'm interested to finding more about Icicle Jr. Cameron has a cool story arc coming, and I'm looking forward to seeing him turn evil because of the fact of where he is right now. But let's pick up where we left off last episode with Sylvester getting absolutely decked by that giant monster. And what is coming from it. Cosmo senses that something's wrong with him, goes out, grabs Courtney, and heads over there. They find him injured, and they bring him back to the hospital. I like how Miss Chapel turns around and tells Pat and Courtney that she reported it as a hit and run, and then Pat's like, oh no. And she's like, what, should I have not done that? And they're like, well, now the cops are going to be looking for someone. And I like how Courtney's like, you should have just said he hit a tree. And she's like, why? Courtney's like, well, it worked for me. Which is true, because they got injured, and then Pat drove his car into a tree to look like they got in a car accident. Then we had Dr. Midnighter come back to see his old friend and check out his injuries. And I like how Dr. Midnighter theorizes that the whole reason that Sylvester's alive again is because the cosmic staff was actually imbuing him with energy, and now it's kind of part of him. And he's absorbing that energy, so he's becoming more powerful, which I think in time will mean that Sylvester will not need the staff and will just have Starman powers and will be able to use the powers without a staff. So he'll probably be able to shoot it out of his hands or something. And I like how when he's talking about this, he mentions Jenny, Green Lantern's daughter, how she is now a walking Green Lantern. And I'm hoping we see more of her this season. I want to see more Green Lantern. I want her to actually join the JSA, so hopefully she finds her brother, who is Obsidian, and they come back to Blue Valley. I like how during all this, Sylvester feels like he's failed or he's doubting himself because Dr. Midnighter's moved on. He has a family. He has his clinic that he's running, but Sylvester's just kind of stuck in Blue Valley with nothing. But Pat has to remind him that Pat and his family is Starman's family and that they're there for him and that Blue Valley could be his home. I like how later Pat ends up giving him the suit and he's like, here's your brand new suit. You're still Starman. And I like that because I think it's good to have an older mentor for the kids who is a hero. And I think Sylvester can learn a lot from the kids as well and kind of grow as a person, which I think is, I'm looking forward to learning more about it. When the JSA reinvestigate the crime scene where the gambler was murdered, I like how they're looking for everything and they can't find anything. Of course, like it's clean and they find one skin cell. You know, they're looking over it. Beth can't figure out where it is. And then Dr. Midnighter looks over it and is like, oh, I know one person who that is. It's an enemy, both of the old JSA and the new JSA, the Dragon King. And everyone's like, well, shit, the Dragon King's back. We got to go look into the tunnels to figure out who he is, where he is. And, you know, they're like, oh, maybe he's unkillable. And I was thinking, okay, Mr. Bones probably brought him back. And speaking of Dragon King, Mike and Jakeem want to go investigate the tunnels. And Jakeem's like, why? The other JSA are going to do it. But Mike's like, they're not taking us seriously. And if we figure out where he is, they'll take us seriously. And Mike wants to be part of the team so bad. And I like how he wants to take Stripes out, but he can't because he doesn't have the key. So they wish for the key to get into the garage. Then Thunderbolt gives them a absolute shit ton of keys. And they come falling out of the bathroom with just a pile of keys and then walk away in the middle of school. Like, okay. They're not very good at hiding it, but they're also younger than the rest of the team. And I'm interested to see what happens after that or if it'll be brought up again because having a bunch of keys come out of the bathroom is not a normal thing. We have more Paul and Barb's relationship growing in this episode as well. Barb gets her park because Tim agrees to it after being threatened, which is just fun seeing them kind of become best friends. And I like the relationship, it's fun. And then we have Sportsmaster also trying to be friends with Starman and Pat. He goes over, brings some beer, and I like that Starman's giving him a chance because he knows he wasn't a villain. They kind of jump to conclusions. Yeah, I like how even Sportsmaster was like, well, when you would show up, we would be worried because you have a nice right hook. Villain-hero bonding, and I think that the relationship will be interesting going forward. So it's time to explain what the hell happened at the ending. And you know what? This is something that caught me off guard at first, but I have a theory about what's going on. They find Dragon King's skin cell at the crime scene, but it looks like at the end of the episode that it might not be Dragon King's and it actually might be Cindy's. Because Cindy is growing scales on her arms and possibly all over her body. When she drank that serum, that might have been to repress the genes that Dragon King put into her so that she wouldn't turn into a lizard. So it looks like because he's not around anymore and she doesn't have that serum as often, she might be slowly turning into her father. That's why in the episode you see her eyes kind of glossed over with a shade of white, and I think that's the lizard taking over. I feel like the JSA is now going to investigate the tunnels, run into Cindy's secret base that she's been hanging out in, and then blame Cindy for doing it. Because Yolanda still believes it was her, even though Cindy denies, and I don't think it was Cindy either. Because why would she do it? She has no motivation to do it. She's trying to be a better person, and why would she kill the gambler? There's literally no reason to, unless she's being controlled by the main villain of the series. However, I don't think that's it. She's definitely turning into her father, and she's trying to find a way to cure herself, and that's 100% what's going on. I have no doubt about it. And I don't think the JSA is going to believe her, but that's what I think's happening. And that skin cell is probably hers from when she went back originally. And it's not going to end well for Cindy. And I hope Stargirl still sticks up for her, even though the evidence is going to seemingly point towards her. I was hoping that in the episode when Dr. Midnighter was talking about the skin cell, he would turn around and say it was Grundy, but he did not. So it's going to be interesting to find out who actually killed the gambler and who threw Starman into the sky. Because it's going to be some monstrous being or some pretty jacked up dude or girl who's out for the JSA. Because we saw in the episode as well, they're still being watched while they're in the hospital. The mysterious figure is still watching them at all times. I'm kind of curious to how they're watching them everywhere they go, but hey, they probably have some little drone that's following them. What did you think of the episode? Were there any Easter eggs I might have missed? Because I felt like I didn't see many other than a couple references to the past seasons. So let me know down in the comments. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I can't wait to watch Stargirl next week. And I'll talk to you guys later.